My name is Ashley Mudd, and I am the program director for Reaching Out MBA. I joined our team in mid 2001, so getting close to having been on the team for 2 years. Our mission is to increase the influence and representation of LGBTQ folks in business. Our broader vision is that there is LGBTQ representation in every C-suite. So a very ambitious goal. We actually just celebrated our 25th ROMBA Conference. And the ROMBA Conference really is the anchor of what we do, and it's how ROMBA started. In 1998, a handful of LGBTQ plus MBA students got together and realized a lot of them were maybe the only person on their campus that was out and didn't feel that sense of connection to the LGBTQ community on campus. And they started planning what became the first ever ROMBA Conference. And we just celebrated our 25th conference since then. A lot of growth. We had just about 2,000 people at our conference this past October in Washington, D.C., which brought together current MBA students from programs across the globe, really, predominantly in the US, but we have schools in Canada, some in Europe, a school we work with in Australia. So a diverse representation of MBA students from across the globe, as well as 100 different corporate partners that were participating in a variety of program types to help students find internships, to find full-time roles, and really to just navigate what does it mean to be out and queer in business? What does it look like? How do you show up authentically in your interview? Do you come out in the interview? Do you wait till you work? What happens if you're going through changes in your identity? How do you address that in the workplace? So we really offer a variety of content and themes and topics at the conference to build that sense of community and really make sure that the people that attend feel a sense of belonging while they're there, because we know they might not be feeling that in other spaces. We do prospective MBA programming because we want to make sure that queer folks see themselves represented in business and know that that path is an option. Sometimes we work with students that didn't know an MBA could be the right path for them until they found out about ROMBA. And so every fall we have a virtual expo to help people learn about the MBA application process, to understand what it's like to be a business student, what are the financial implications, how can you prepare for scholarships. We also partner with over 70 different MBA programs that participate in a school expo. So students can ask specific questions on what is it like to be on that campus as an out student. Our conference does focus primarily on MBA students. We have some peripheral business degrees, maybe a master's of science in accounting or econ, but really it focuses on the MBA because we see it as a very well-defined pipeline into business leadership. And we see it as a really smart leverage point if we're going to reach people sort of in the journey of their career. Their MBA is a time to potentially put them on a path they might not have been otherwise. We have, like I mentioned, over 100 incredible corporate partners we work with who have very well-defined MBA pipelines to sort of put people either in leadership rotations or in specific departments in their company. And we believe working in this pipeline really allows us to create a larger pool of LGBTQ leaders that can then lead in business. One of the reasons why we focus on business is that we believe where policies tend to fall short, businesses can step in and sort of push them. And that only happens if you have diverse representation in those businesses. And if the LGBTQ plus experience is represented and understood in that business, you have the potential to have more inclusive work environments and advocacy that business can do on behalf of the LGBTQ plus community. The work that we do is constantly evolving. It's something that we talk about as a staff with our board of directors. How do we sort of stay relevant? I think the best way that we do that for each of the large events that we do, we have a student team that leads the content creation. And that makes sure we stay on the pulse of what is current. If you think about it, the average age of MBA students We work with people in their late 20s, early to mid 30s, and we absolutely have outliers, but for the most part, that age group tends to stay the same. All of us on staff are getting older. And so by constantly having current students participate, we really can stay up to date. This past year, I've seen a lot of conversation around authenticity and what does that really mean? I think it's a buzzword in the larger business world and sort of professional development, but what does that mean to show up as your authentic self in a workplace if you are gender nonconforming and you have concerns about what to wear to work and how it might be perceived? What does it look like if you work in a very traditional industry where people tend to be in heterosexual couples and you want to talk about your same-sex partner? What does it mean to be authentic in a state where you might not have LGBTQ hiring protections? And so there's really a lot of nuance to the conversation of authenticity. And so I think it's something that we've really been taking a deeper dive into. And how do you show up authentically in a way that keeps yourself safe? And if you're in a position of influence and power, how is it that you make sure your organizational policies and structures are creating not only psychological safety, but physical safety, people to be authentic at work? We have a lot of nuanced conversations. The way that we approach and discuss gender and identity is constantly changing as we learn more as an organization, so that we can do our best to make sure everyone feels welcome and like they have a place in our programming. We really believe that our collective success in serving the queer community is going to be done through partnerships. And we right now are hyper-focused on identifying partnerships that help us expand in spaces that will allow us to serve communities we have typically underserved. In the US, that means partnering with organizations that focus on serving women and people of color, so that we can really hone in on, MBA programs. Separately, there's been a really big push to increase women, people of color, the LGBTQ community. But if we don't acknowledge there's a lot of people who live at the intersections of those identities that have unique needs, we won't really move the needle. So domestically, we're really focusing on partnerships to help us get into spaces where we can better serve people who've typically been underrepresented, maybe in the queer community. Abroad, that looks similar, is finding organizations that already have some sort of presence there, because there is a lot of nuance. Things change at different rates. Different countries have different laws. Just to be completely frank, there are still countries that we have students in where it is illegal to be out. And so in one way that we work, there's several schools that are in our fellowship program that provide really great options for students that might want to move to a country that provides more safety for them to be out. And our fellowship, as well as scholarships that those schools offer, are a really good path to maybe enroll in a program and work on that individual's path to citizenship. In Europe specifically, we have two partnerships I'm really proud of. We work with Reachout, which is hosted by London Business School, as well as National Student Pride, which historically has provided a careers expo for undergraduate students. Both of those organizations focus on the queer community in Europe, and by partnering with organizations that are based in Europe, we can really let them take the lead on what's happening locally, and we can provide the best practices and lessons learned that we're learning here. And so what that looks like in practice, for the past couple years, our staff will attend their annual events, and their staff will then attend our annual event, our ROMBA Conference. And we're able to learn programming ideas from each other, but we're also able to see how community might look different in our two spaces. How should we communicate differently? And the biggest piece I think that our partnership allows for students is that there are some students who are receiving their MBA who still want to maybe be employed in Europe and not in the US. But our Career Expo still very much focuses on US-based companies, at least companies that are hiring for their US-based location. So through our partnerships with these organizations in Europe, they're able to connect with different corporate partners. And we're able then to connect our students with them and have a path to employment at a company we otherwise would not be able to build that connection with. And so we think overall, if it's domestic or abroad, it's those partnerships that really allow us to create a web of resources. So it doesn't matter where you are on your individual career journey or where you live, we're trying to work with these different partners to make sure that we can offer a variety of options for students. In September of 2023, we'll have a prospective MBA expo that's free to attend, and we can't wait to open registration in summer of 2023. That is a really great event to attend to understand more about the actual application process, how to finance your MBA, how to stand out as a student during the application process, and how to stand out as a potential ROMBA fellow. All of the schools that participate in that program are fellowship schools, meaning they each offer the ROMBA Fellowship. The ROMBA Fellowship includes a financial reward that goes towards tuition, as well as being a part of the ROMBA Fellowship cohort that we sort of work with annually. We bring them together for an in-person retreat where they get to meet their cohort. So that includes students from 70 other schools. So they're building a global network before they ever step foot on campus. And I'm going to imagine your audience, if they're looking for an MBA, they understand the importance of a really strong network. And so we think a huge value proposition of that is before you ever start classes, you get to meet students from 70 other schools and really start building those connections. We also focus on developing both the leadership capacity and career capacity of our fellows, because we believe that they will be the future LGBTQ business leaders, and we want them to be prepared to lead on campus and to lead in business. We have had some fellows who have actually advocated and were successful in policy change on campus while in the program, instituting pronouns, changing how gender identity was asked in an application, instituting policies that allow students to not be dead named once they become a student. Those things were all led by ROMBA Fellows. So it truly is a great program, but it's only one piece of what we do. Each year we serve about 110 to 120 incoming fellows, but we serve over 1,000 students at our conference. So that just shows you the scale that, the fellowship program is one piece. We work with any LGBTQ MBA student in any program beyond just the 70 that offer our fellowship. So if you are an LGBTQ person thinking about getting your MBA, we'd love to engage with you now so that we can get communications to you when things become available, so that you can jump into our network, so that we can help you think about what makes the most sense for you. But also something that I'm really proud that we offer that's unique is that every summer before students enroll in their program, so sort of you are a prospective student, then you apply and you're accepted. So now you're a pre-MBA, you know where you're going to be in the fall, but you haven't started yet. We offer summer treks, and we offer about 5 of those in different US cities. And it's a competitive program. In each, we have 20 to 25 students. It's free to participate. And we offer travel stipends for students that are in need to attend. And for 2 days, they're in a small group, 20 to 25. They get to meet leaders in the headquarters of the businesses that we're working with. So this past summer, we were in Seattle, and we spent half a day in the Starbucks office. It's just an example of the different cities that we'll pick. And the idea, again, is you get to meet other students in different MBA programs to strengthen your personal network, but you also get to start meeting recruiters, people in the C-suite, VPs at different companies that maybe you've never considered before. Maybe they weren't on your list. Maybe it's a city you hadn't considered living in before. You start building those relationships before you step foot on campus, in hopes that you can broaden your perspective of what employment opportunities exist. The benefit for our corporate partners is that we help them find really great, incredible LGBTQ leaders to work for them. And then our students get to ask questions about, how do you create a sense of belonging for the queer community here? What initiatives do you support? How is it that you engage with your local pride? These are all conversations that have happened at Treks. So it's a really special opportunity. Again, any LGBTQ MBA student that's going to enroll in any MBA program is eligible to apply for that. whether they are or are not a fellow. So much of our focus is on student development in hopes that we build that relationship with you and we're able to maintain it through the rest of your career. And so after graduation, several of our students have gone on to become our corporate partners. And so maybe they're recruited into a company we already have a relationship with and we have a new internal champion. Sometimes they are able to find employment at a company we don't have a relationship with, and they make that connection for us. So we're up to 100 corporate partners. We were nowhere, near that in the beginning because of that growth. We build a relationship with a student, we pour into them, we help them develop leadership skills. They get gainful employment at a new company and they bring over the connection. The same can be said about our students who go up to launch startups and sort of come back to us. The benefit for them by keeping that relationship with us is we're committed to helping find incredible LGBTQ talent for those companies, as well as providing support. Both the companies and the fellowship schools we work with, we really look at those as partnerships. And so it's not just sort of sponsorship, you're giving us money to do programs, but we develop our programming in tandem with our corporate partners in our schools so that we're all learning together. We do an annual survey on DE&I practices in MBA programs so that we're able to develop a report and give that to our schools to implement on campus. There's some learnings from that we're able to share with the corporate partners. And so that's sort of what we do with organizations, and a lot of our alumni are in those positions to help us sort of bring what we're learning into fruition, either in their workplace or maybe on campus. We're also really working on finding ways to keep that sense of community going without us being a gatekeeper. So creating virtual networks that our alumni can join and they can continue to build relationships for the span of their time with us. Very few people stay in the job they get immediately after their MBA for the rest of their career. And so we want to build a lifelong relationship. When you're ready for that second job, when you're ready to move into a supervisory position, we want to help connect you to companies and peers that can get you there quicker, help you build those relationships. And so we have a virtual platform where alumni can look for jobs throughout the year. We have a couple of virtual communities where they can build relationships, a LinkedIn group where they can find people maybe in a company or a city that they're targeting and start building those connections. And then throughout the year, we do regional events in different cities because we understand that a working professional might not have the same option as a student to hop on a plane and come to an event. And so when we're in LA, Seattle, New York, Chicago, we'll have a local event so that people can just come join us when we're in their city and they can meet other people that are in our network and continue to feel that sense of community long after they've graduated. We'd love to have anyone who is listening or who hears this to join us. Next year, we are really excited to be in Chicago, October 5th through 7th. We have some information on our website, but our conference is open to current MBA students, anyone who's in a graduate program that's MBA adjacent, and MBA alumni. That they're able to attend this event. It's a ton of fun. There are a lot of options over 3 days. We have educational breakout sessions, some that are industry specific, so you can stay up to date on what's happening in tech or finance. We have more broad sessions, how to make a career pivot, how to understand if the role that you're in can be evolved from the inside, or maybe it is time to start looking, how to come out at work. We typically have sessions on how to change your career, how to start thinking about what should you be doing to sort of pad your resume that helps you look attractive in a new career. We always have celebrity keynotes, incredible entertainment, and a lot of opportunities to really network and leave with new relationships. And that's something that we keep working on. How can we help anyone who's coming to this event leave with a stronger network and more connections so that this sense of belonging we create in these 3 days doesn't stop here? How do you take it back? Yeah, I think anyone who's watching this that's a member of the LGBTQ community, I would just love for you to know that there's absolutely space for you in business. We work with a lot of students who are on the fence about whether or not to get an MBA, and they feel like maybe their background isn't traditional enough, or they don't understand enough about business. And that's just not true. We work with students of so many different backgrounds. I met a student this year who was a choir coach for years before getting into his program and being offered the ROMBA Fellowship. There are so many different skill sets and experiences that make you a valuable MBA candidate and are going to make you a valuable candidate for the employers that we work with. I know from firsthand that companies we work with are looking for intriguing stories and interesting backgrounds, and how you can take what you consider a non-traditional background and leverage that into diversity of thought on their team. So no matter what background you have, there is a place for you, and in business. You have a different perspective. You bring something to the table that other people might not understand. You have a lived experience that only you have lived. And all of those things are really important, and I would say valued in the MBA application process. And so I encourage you to explore what works for you, look at different ways to finance your MBA program, and really think about how you can tell your unique story in the application process. Because we are excited to continue to increase the number of LGBTQ folks that are getting their MBA.